Doctor, come on, will you? The whole place is going to blow up.
Oh, it's quite all right, Jamie. The planet is quite safe. There's just going to be a localized volcanic eruption. It'll only affect the island.
Maybe so, but we happen to be on the island.
Oh, my word!
I apologise, this session recap is so late. I've been away for a week and I'm finally back in front of the PC at long last to do a proper session recap. Although I don't really have much to say about this one. I'm actually going to try and get through it as quickly as possible because there was a significant event, but we took nearly 3 hours to sort of get there. We basically had fun having a bit of shopping and taking the mick out of our DM's French accent for this NPC Tristan from Waterdeep, who we met at the election that was taking place the previous session. Now that we've got back to Phandelver and that there is no town master yet. So, we're told of the different potions that Tristan has in stock. He has very typical healing potion. In fact, I've got his inventory up at long last. Let's have a look. Where is it now? Tristan's potions. But he had some very interesting ones, some homebrewed ones as well. I'm in the wrong server, bear with me. Yeah, so list of potions. Potion of Fortitude increases AC. Potion of Transparency makes you sort of like ghost-like. You can move through objects, but you take damage if you stop on terrain that would like if you stop inside an object or something like that. So there is that. There's also as well potions of resistance, elixir of false death, so the feign death effect. Basically, you go blind, deafened, and muted, and look indistinguishable from a corpse. I think in fact the only way you can be detected as alive is through certain magics as well, so that's quite good. Potion of diminishing returns as well was an interesting one. The idea behind this was that you, the effect behind this was that you would like, the more bonuses you got from the potion, the more actions it would take. So it would give you a +1 or like a +3 to your next attack or something like that. +3 to your next attack and damage, and cost an action. Your bonus action, it would then cost your attack and your action and bonus action for a +4, and then your action, bonus action, and reaction for your for a +5 to a hit and attack. So not terrible. So yeah, what else was there? Potion of Vigor. I don't. Oh yeah, temporary hit points. Potion of Dragon's Breath. Standard potions, healing potions, and standard healing potions, greater healing potions, and various perfumes, which I forgot to buy. I was going to look for some aged herbs, allspice. Now we could try and haggle him down, which failed miserably. Emil tried to persuade this man that it's for the clergy, but he wasn't overly familiar with Moradin, and he couldn't really convince him. Ellie kept taking the mick out of his Waterdeep accents. That didn't really help matters, and we essentially bought the whole lot. I think we bought 2 potions of healing, 1 of diminishing returns, 1 of transparency, 1 of resistance, and 1 of vigor, for 400 gold pieces total. So we get 300 gold pieces and 1 pearl, which Eliza had a very tough time parting with. Now during the election, the townsfolk are noting that as all this is going on, the election's still going on, the ballots being counted, and the townsfolk ask of Sister Graal, knowing that she's gone away, but her vote isn't needed. But it would have been nice to have her opinion, given that she's a valued member of the town. Sorry, I'm a bit out of it today. Moving on, yes, so the votes counted in the end. Halia Thornton has noticeably more votes, not a vast amount, but it's quite clear that she's the winner at a glance. She gives a victory speech, and even those who didn't vote for her start clapping, so that was good. And we decide to follow her to the Miners Exchange, congratulate her on her victory, and try and get some information and find out what she knows about the things that the Townmaster has supposedly seen her with, talking about. So, Eliza asks about the Black Cloaks and Glassstaff, and that she and the workers scared off the Red Brands, but only enough to keep them from her doing her own business. Eliza rolls an insight check, 9. She's guarded and very hard to read, unsurprisingly. The workers were checking out of the mines of the north, because they usually go south to where the Miners' Trail is found on the Phandelver map to the south. But now they're checking out the north just to see if there's anything worthwhile there. There were humanoid undead, seemingly. So they went to Sister Grell to see if she could ask about this and perhaps do something about it, but she hasn't heard back from yet. It's been about 3 or 4 days now, so we are quite worried for her safety. So there's no help needed in Phandelver while we know what the dangers are. So we've got a very clear idea of what we need to do while we're here, and we don't really need to do a whole lot more. If we need any evaluations for gemstones and minerals, we can go to her. And we asked as well about the Red Brand, that now she's the new town leader. Now that Harley Thornton of the Miners' Exchange is now the leader of the town, what is she going to do with the Red Brand in the prison where Harbin Wester was? And apparently he will be dealt with accordingly. We'll have to see what that means. Eliza's ruby that our previous DM gave her was probably valued at like 5,000 gold pieces or something like that as written. I can't quite remember. Let's have a look. How much was it again? Yeah, 5,000 gold pieces according to D&D Beyond. Yeah, that's way too much for an adventuring party of our level. So, but I think it was on like a random table or something like that. So, our DM rules that it's in pretty rough condition and it's worth about 150 gold pieces. And it might be worth a bit more with like 5 or 10 gold pieces of work by a jewel crafter, maybe inlaid into some jewellery or something like that. Make a profit of about 200 gold pieces. So I think we hold on to it. There's a Jade Frog statue as well, worth 40 gold pieces. Yeah, so we sell that, I think. And we ask for some more information as well. Eliza keeps rolling 9s. I think that was the number that she kept rolling in this entire session. I can't see anything else here. Yeah, quite a few bad rolls here and there. And yeah, again, this yeah, Eliza rolls 9 to find out what to find out how Harley feels about the Rockseeker brothers, Nundra and Tharden. About their own mining operations. I'm really sorry that I'm completely out of it. I think it's because I'm trying to rush, maybe, but there isn't really much to tell or recap here, I'm afraid, for the session. So yeah, she just has a complete poker's face. I try to buy some mason's tools, and I get a fairly dusty set of mason's tools. And I insist on paying, but they insist on giving it as a gift, so I begrudgingly give it as a gift. I really should have given the cost to the Shrine of Luck. However, I end up giving some money to Ellie to buy a hand crossbow, which would have been the cost of the mason's tools, which I think are about 10 gold pieces. Before we leave, we just ask Harley Thornton if she knows anything of Bane. Not a clue. And we just warn her as well that there's a lot of bodies and perhaps even 3 skeletons in Tristendale Manor to watch out for. So yeah, Ellie buys a hand crossbow, I buy a blanket, and I give the cask of Dwarven Black Bitter Stout away to to Toblin Stonehill, at the Stonehill Inn. And it's on the house while it lasts. There's about 18 glasses in there, and I imagine he might sell it to for a premium to his other customers, so we'll have to see. So, as this is going on, just bear with me. So as we're still in Phandelver, we're just about ready to leave when we decide that we're not going to leave. We're not going to leave Gundren to rot in the stable, wrapped up in my old blanket. So we decide that we're going to give him a proper burial, and Emil says a few words. And yeah, I'm not quite confident in the roleplay to sort of voice things out as such, which is a shame really, because I enjoy very much using Garveld's sort of in-character voice, and I think I'm too scared of taking up the party's time when we are this far into Lost Amount of Phandelver, and we've had several sessions of just planning, you know, so I don't think we should be all that bothered. And what are a few more seconds to read For Whom the Bell Tolls? Yeah. So, yeah. So we bury him, and I just share the poem in chat. No man is an island entire of itself. Each is a piece of the continent, a part of the mine. If a soul be whiskered away by death, fey or rune is the less, as well as if a mountain face were, as well as if a manor of thine own, or thine friends were. Each man's death diminishes me, for I am involved in mankind. Therefore said not to know for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. So, yeah. And, yeah, so as we leave, Emil's stepping out of Phandelver now, and he stops, and he says, "I can't do this anymore. At least for now. You know, I'm supposed to be a paladin, and what happened with Gundren, and what happened with Eldendra, and all this business with Sister Gorel and Seldar Hallwinter, all the close shaves we've had shouldn't have happened. This is not how a paladin choosing an oath to devotion should be acting." So he decides that he's going to go to the Temple of Mordin in Neverwinter. He casts Find Steed, and indeed a fine steed is found. I was going to say find it. A fine steed is finded. A stag leaps from the forest majestically, and he straddles it and leaves. I personally like, if you haven't listened to Dwarven Moss already, fantastic podcast, Admiral Paladin Born Hardanus has a boar, as like a golden boar mount, and I think that's like, if I had to have like a fine steed, it would definitely be like a boar or something like that, or it'd be like my roadie character, Little Jean, and I just ride on his shoulders or whatever, you know. So that's actually, yeah, that could work, I think. Come to think of it, actually, a centaur might make a really good roadie character. I might keep that in mind. He is a rogue, though, so we'll see. Anyway, so I'm sorry, I took it away from Emil's really important moment here, and it was a fantastic moment. Like, our DM could not have picked a better song. Again, going back to Dwarven Moss, fantastic music. I'm sorry, I'm absolutely addicted to it. They're going to be doing a live play in Toronto as well. Don't miss it. So, anyway. He's leaving, and there's silence. People were pretty taken aback by this. I sort of expected this in a way that Emil might be swapping his character, because yeah, it's the RP has weighed heavily on him as a player. He's had to do a lot of stuff, and I think the campaign has like really been geared towards his character. Not like in a bad way or anything like that. He's responded to these events incredibly well. Yeah, and I don't blame his character for having to need a break. And Garveld understands as well. Like, Garveld doesn't really like adventurers. He thinks they're bloody idiots, even after all this time. Like, I mean, Eliza's probably the most competent adventurer that the party's seen, and he still doesn't have that high of an opinion. Like, he doesn't hate her or anything, but as a person, he doesn't hate her, but he hates the adventuring life. He wishes it wasn't necessary. But I think he's going to find that it is. I think especially if he comes across like his first major undead or something like that, or maybe like a necromancer or a lich or something like that, then that's when he'll... I doubt we're going to come across a lich in this campaign. To be honest, I'd be pretty annoyed that there was an encounter that we couldn't kill, so... but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, we've already come across a dragon. You know, fantasy simulator, right? Fantasy simulator. So yeah, I say that that he's done the right thing, and the too few do. And then we continue. And I'll just pause recording there because we find Emil's player's new character.
This time you've done it!
The trees pass us by. The sun casts its shadow upon us. The journey is quiet, too quiet, without Emil's jolliness, despite his player saying he's rather cynical. Just as we're getting ready to camp halfway to the Netheril Well, or the Old Isle Well as it was previously known, there's a blinding flash of light that shatters our vision. And I'm not going to lie, I almost crap myself at this, because I thought, oh god, a nuke's gone off, you know? And like, with how things have been going recently, that, you know, like, it already played to my fears, you know? It's like, oh, I don't like this, it really unsettled me. I mean, I'm over it now, but yeah, god almighty, I thought, no, don't bring that into the game, please, I don't need that now. So, anyway, yeah, so a blinding flash of light that is not a nuclear bomb, thank goodness, fills the environment, and there is a door, a gate that shudders, and two things are spat out of it. We don't really see very much there. There was something in a lab coat that was launched out, and is now just basically a bundle of clothes on the floor. And with him is another man with tan skin and black hair, odd patches and pouches here and there, very exotic gear upon him. His most distinct feature is a cloak that looks like a rug, or rather a rug that has been repurposed to be a cloak. And he introduces himself in a very strange way. He doesn't say his name as Garvel Grimhammer is. No. He goes, "Look, an honest-to-God halfling! A vitally important question, halfling. Are you wearing socks?" To which Ellie actually looks and finds she's not. But as this is going on, the culture shock of being here is very different. He goes over to his bundle of clothes that were previous his companion, Lionel, who we find is a weasel in a red coat. And, of course, this gentleman shouts, "He's alive!" A bit smaller than I imagined, but yes, you're alive. And we ask who he is and where he's come from. He's a bit too jolly to be a bit of a villain, we think. Unfortunately, the jolliness sort of ends here. For this man and Lionel come from a place where the Black Spider has won. He asks if there's any demons roaming the land, any black domes. Not that we know of. And so he introduces himself as Professor Eutorocles, or Professor Yeto. He explains that in the final moments of Candlekeep's siege, a city had fell upon the keep, and this is basically a last-ditch effort to try and save the world. So he's travelled through time and dimensions. Dare I say, time and relative dimensions of space. To find the answers, or the secrets, or some sort of solution to the problems that he faces in his world, in ours. The first omen of the Black Spider's victory was that drow started appearing, concerting with demons. The Black Spider had banned socks on Tuesdays. It was just something that came up in the conversation. Eliza asks, did you steal her socks and come back in time to steal them? And yeah, there's not many halflings in the future. And yeah, foot circulation is very important to the Professor. We get lots of information like this. Like I rush you the first half just to get to the tripe. But yeah, anyway. Ellie could be a very short dwarf who shaves, for all we know. But Professor Yeto, having some innate understanding of dwarves, says dwarves don't like to shave. And yeah, and so Gavel starts stroking his beard like Uncle Albert from Only Fools and Horses. During the war, during the war, I think that's more his accent. I think Gavel's that is. Although during the war, we'll have to come up for some stage, I think, because yeah, so some slight background in soldiering. So anyway, so Yeto was a human of 70 years in his time, but he seems to de-aged here. I think he said about maybe 20 years. I think maybe 50. I can't quite remember. It had a 0 in it. I can tell you that much. His time was a year 30 AS after the spider, which I very much like. I like that idea. Phantom images appear around him of Neverwinter and Waterdeep. Skies darkening. The drow were marching. Caravans stopped coming. Caravans started coming, and then they stopped. Followed by refugees, and they stopped too. All of this was caused by the elusive name Dread Tyrant. Nothing's quite known about them. Eliza is told that as a wood elf, the woods of the Black Spider timeline were completely blackened and dead. Just destroyed, obliterated immediately, and that makes her furious. More furious than she already is at seeing a spellcaster. She doesn't particularly like wizards, but especially after hearing that her home has been destroyed. Ellie pulls out Nipper and introduces Lionel the Weasel, and we may have heard faint sounds of saxophones, but I think Lionel's more like yelling, "Help!" The adventurers of Yeto's time never found the Wave Echo Cave, and he'd spent his whole life finding it, so he was a bit upset that some randomly grouped up people managed to find it in 6 days of adventuring or something like that. Yeah, he spent 20 years of his life trying to find it. He explains that his power is the control of chronoturgy, of entropy. he makes a flower grow and wilt again. And I decided once again to keep my mouth shut because I didn't want to cause any PvP when I thought that this might be necromancy. However, collaborating with Emil's player, or rather Ito's player, we have sort of talked about like how he feels about the dead and undead and things like that, and actually there are a few things that will allow us to work together a bit better. So that's good. Because I without spoiling too much for anyone watching the video, Ito has met a Mortarch from, which is like a priest of Kellenvor from AD&D, who like they sort of bonded with and learnt that possibly Kellenvor is like almost like a god of entropy and balance, like cosmic balance, which is about right, to be honest, based on what I've read. I think like there is some sort of element of like him being like one of the greater deities for that sort of thing, keeping things in the balance. Hence the scales as well being his not just for like lore, but also as well like I guess cosmic lore as well, perhaps. So yeah, so there is that. So I think it's going to be okay. Oh yeah, he does put this down to being timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly stuff. Now I knew immediately. I guessed at first this was going to be like, I think Doc Brown, is it, from Back to the Future? I'm shamefully not very familiar with Back to the Future. But I thought, no, it's obviously Doctor Who, because quite a few of our players are big fans of David Tennant. I am a massive classic Who fan. You know, I'm autistic. It used to be my special interest. Still is. Like, I could still answer most questions about old episodes of Doctor Who. So yeah, there is no doubt in my mind that there is going to be a lot of references to reversing the polarity of the neutron flow and other such things. Fun fact: it was I think the producer at the time said like John Pertwee came up to him and said, go to the producer and talked about this line, and the producer asked, "What, do you not like it? We can have less of it." And no, like John Pertwee was like, "No, I love it. Let's have more of it." So reversing the polarity of the neutron flow was like an unrunning joke, especially with like I think multiple doctors as well. I think with Patrick Troughton and John Pertwee and I think maybe Colin Baker as well got together. It was like, yeah, if you try reversing the polarity of the neutron flow. And then I think as well in like the more modern ones. I'm getting way off topic, yeah. But yes, I'll have to share some quotes because there's some very, very good ones. In fact, one that from Tom Baker's Fourth Doctor death was like, "It is the end, but the moment has been prepared." Is one that I think I want to have for Garvel's speech because he was like my favourite Doctor. Before I knew like how combative, shall I say, controlling, manipulative. Just generally horrible Tom Baker was, because I think he was like an alcoholic during the filming of Doctor Who. He really wanted to carry the show himself. Yeah, he didn't speak to Adrian. Okay, I'm sorry, I was hoping to keep this brief, but obviously that's not going to happen. So, anyway, so Ito's just about said everything that we can get out of him for the time being, and he decides that he'll have an unseen servant set up a tent. So Eliza decides that. Eliza says that she doesn't like magic being performed on her. She doesn't. She's quite wary of it, and Ito tries to convince her to use these magics. And Eliza's player, out of game, absolutely loves this kind of magic, though, but her character not so much. And the spells as well. I have to give credit to Ito's player for the spell names. Like one of them was offensive cognition, which is basically you touch a willing creature and for the duration the target can add 1d8 to its attack rolls, which is pretty cool. But then he's got things like coronal mass injection, which is like ray of fire. It's like you launch a burning ray. I think it is like you create 3 rays of fire and hit them targets with 0 range. Eternal key to the spotless mind. I can't remember what this one is like. It's like the mocking vicious mockery, but it's the more powerful one that uses a spell slot. You psychically lash out at one creature you can see within range. It takes 3d6 and can't take a reaction on its next turn. Localized singularity, temporal displacement, blink. Another one as well. Oh no, there's quite a few actually. Defensive time envelope, emergency chronal burst, localized airborne relocation kit, ray of entropy, temporal degradation. I love these. I think I'm definitely going to be doing this in the future. I'm going to be renaming some of my abilities because, especially with like Commissar Katyusha Lost Cars, her name, her abilities like aren't magical, so I'm going to flavour them as such. What other names do we come up with as well? Because I love talking about this stuff. Oh yes, the Entropy, nuclear tactical ray of pure yeetiness. I think that's all I've got so far. Actually, yeah, but I want to come up with more names for them. I want to talk to them because it's dead fun talking to them about stuff for their campaign. So it would be Anyway, I'll tell you that the best one, the one that I think that they're most proud of, in a moment. So we get a few more bits of information. The Cult of Bane was everywhere. Local constabularies couldn't stop it in time. And it just led to the fall of all the major cities. So we'll share more notes when we know what side Professor Eutorocles is on. But we've sort of had a day of travelling at the end of this session, and we sort of get to know that he's an alright guy. We rest, and Ellie wakes up and finds that her socks weren't taken from her. They are just, in fact, balled up to hold the gemstones. So, with an investigation of 7 to try and find out any information on this red woman with a tattoo, he gets a headache with a 7 investigation check. Nothing in his books or anything that he can recall doesn't really help. He's had a pretty rough time, and now he's got to contend with like travelling to a whole new dimension. So Yito decides to tell Lionel that I think it's time for a lark, and a lark is a localized airborne relocation kit. I don't know how to localize relocation. Then again, this reminds me of like the miniaturized giant space hamster that is Boo to Minsk from Baldur's Gate. Go for the eyes, Boo! I think I've said that joke before, so... Anyway, moving on once again. Eliza will let him help him. Will let him help her with magic one time. Which we might find next session, because I think that's where we're expected to encounter the Red Woman. I'm not sure, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. So he takes a hand and casts Offensive Cognition, and gives her a 1d8 to initiative rolls for like 8 hours, I think it is. So that's pretty good. So we finish up near the Old Arwell, where I think we're going to rest, and our next session will begin at 5 PM. So I believe that my partner and I are going to an event on Saturday. It might go on Sunday, so we have more time to spend together. We'll have to see what goes on. It'd be a shame to miss out on the event, or more of the event, because it's from the morning to like 5 o'clock because of D&D. So so we'll have to see. Anyway, but there'll be other events and other sessions of D&D. I can always miss this one if I'm going to be late. No D&D is better than bad D&D, I suppose, for the rest of the party. But yes, we will see. So it's been a pleasure to see Emil send off. Once again, I have to give credit to our DM for an excellent choice of music and narration. I especially like the line of like, it's too quiet knowing Emil's gone. A fantastic introduction by our DM as well, and Emil's player, or rather Ito's player, really likes. I think Ito's player really likes playing Professor Eutorocles. I look forward to seeing what they can do in combat. They did say that they wanted to basically make like a buff character, a support character, which, I thought that was my role really, but you know what? I'm fine with 2 support characters in the group. It's not like in MMOs where you have to have a tank, healer, damage dealer. You can have these other things. So yeah, I'm interested in seeing how Eutorocles handles themselves. So yes, I wish the party luck. So thank you ever so much for watching. Take care. I was hoping this would be a lot briefer than it was, but unfortunately it wasn't. But never mind, you can't win them all. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Take care. Ta for now.
My time is up. But yours soon will be too.